Pop quiz, hotshots. For $1 million, can you tell me what it means to have game? I've got the answer coming up next. What's good, everyone? Mario here. The following video that you're about to watch comes from my free online course, Intro to Game. Now, a lot of this content from the course is going to be on this YouTube playlist, so do check that out. But not all of it. So if you are interested, and I hope you are, in leveling up your game, then follow the link in the description or the card for this video and sign up so that you can take this course online for free at our website, upyourdatinggame.com. See you soon, and take care. Enjoy the video. What's good, everyone? Mario here. In this video, let's talk about game, its definition, what it means to have game, and along the way, what I want to do is pass along all sorts of tidbits and nuggets of information, wisdom, and nuance about game and learning it better, faster, making it work better for you. So I've got a lot to share with you. So what we're going to do is just kind of have a conversation, much like we would if we were face-to-face meeting for the first time, talking about working together. One of the first things that we would have to do is get on the same page about what we're working on. If we're going to develop your game, you need to understand what it is so that you can take it seriously and value it and know exactly what we are doing here. So I'm going to help you with that. The very first thing that I want you to do is perform an exercise with me. And it's just kind of a role play. I want you to imagine yourself to be a contestant on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And I want you to imagine yourself sitting in the middle of that audience, you and Regis Philbin, and you're answering all these questions correctly. And then you get to the last one. And you're feeling the pressure because you've gotten all the easy ones, the hard ones, the tricky ones. You've got them all right. But you've used up all your lifelines. So it's just you. You have nobody else to count on. It's just make or break for this $1 million question. The crowd's going to be, tense and sitting on the edge of their seats waiting to see you succeed or fail. Regis is going to always going to be doing his thing where he makes it extra pressure filled. And you've got the music, of course, always tense and pulsating and dramatic. And you obviously couldn't help but be nervous. And finally, Regis looks over at you and says, for $1 million, what does it mean to have game? And you're like, what? Fuck. Because you know what? Even though as many times as you've used the term game, heard the term game, heard someone else use it, heard professionals speak about it, heard myself speak about it, you're not $1 million confident that you can appropriately and correctly explain what it means to have game. And that's where you're not very different than most people. What I want you to understand right now is just that you don't know something fully. And that's okay. So in this video, we're going to kind of clarify things, okay? We're going to help you advance that knowledge so that you can grow even further. So I want you to learn from myself and the lessons that I've learned from working with so many other men and women like you. One of the things that I learned we had to do was make sure that everyone from the very beginning had a fundamental understanding of what we're talking about when we say game. So what I've done is created the most simple definition that I've been teaching my clients for years, and I'm going to pass along to you. And it's very short. I think it gets to the point, and I also know that it can apply to any other way that other people or other professionals are using the term game. It can work for that too. All right. So here's my definition. It's not very long. To have game, defining game, it's simply awareness and competency of the better strategies of action for success. That's it. Awareness and competency for the better strategies of action for success. That's it. But I want you to understand that I put every word in there very carefully. All right. At the very beginning, I have awareness and competency together. They're lumped in together because they do go together. You can't have either or. To have game, you need them both because you can't have awareness without the competency. It's like having knowledge without the know-how. All right. So you have to be able to execute this. Otherwise, it's not an available option to you. It's like saying, you know what would really solve your problem? $10 million. And you're thinking, whether it's personal, professional, romantic, or athletic, $10 million would certainly be a great strategy for helping you succeed. Couldn't hurt. And you're like, well, shit, I could find ways to make that work for me. It could be beneficial. The problem is in its execution. How many of you are going to have $10 million in your bank account tomorrow? You're not. So that's not a very good option, all right, because you don't have that competency. You don't have that ability to execute it. It's not available to you. So though you're aware of it, though you know about it, it doesn't do much for us. So the only thing that really does something for us are the ones that we know about, the know-how, or the knowledge and the awareness, plus the ones that we're competent, the ones that we know how to execute, the ones that we know how to do. All right, that those combinations are the only ones that really matter to us. Those are our options. But that's what game is about. Game is about increasing your options for attacking life, for responding to life, for dealing with a situation. Because in any situation, personal, professional, romantic, athletic, there's always going to be a better and a worse strategy of action for a desired outcome or success, whatever you want to call it. There's always a better and a worse strategy. It's just a matter of how many options do you see and can you execute? How many of those are options for you? And the more game you have, the more available options you have to select which one is better and which one is worse, and ultimately which one is going to be the best for your desired outcome. That's what game does. Game helps you go from point A, where you're starting at or where you're at currently, to point B, where you want to be, your desired outcome, whatever you call success. It helps provide a bridge from point A to point B. How? Through competency and awareness combined, and that helps qualify you to achieve your success. All right, imagine trying to achieve a success without having any competency. How would you be qualified for it? There'd be no way of understanding who's qualified for a certain result. There's got to be a qualification process. The qualification process is both awareness and competency in the better strategies of action. That's what it's about. Now, what I want you to also understand, when we're talking about options and knowledge of these options and increasing them through developing your game, what I want you to know is that is also going to reduce your fears in life. In life, when you're fearful, about a situation, whether it's personal, professional, romantic, or athletic, same thing. Again, you're always fearful when you're ignorant of what to say or do to achieve your desired outcome. When you don't know what to say or do, when that ignorance is on display, you're like, fuck, it's super nerve-wracking. It's a frightening time for you because you want something, but you don't know how to get it and you can't do it. That's when you're fearful. When you have game, though, you have more options that are available to you. Like, well, shoot, I do have some options, and I've got 5 options of how I could accomplish this goal, and this one is the best one. And even better than 5 options is 10. Even better than 10 is 20, 50, 100. The more options that you have, the more that you can say, I like to choose this one. Because you know what? Sometimes what I want you to understand is the best option isn't going to be the same for everybody because we're all wired differently. So especially when it comes to our dating game, we're going to have different ways that we handle things because we're wired differently. Some of us are more risk takers. Others of us prefer to kind of play it safer. Some of us are really bold, and some of us have certain values that we need to adhere to whatever. That means that's going to impact our selection of options. So I want you to understand, it's not just about saying like there's only one right answer. There's not one right answer. There's more. The better way of thinking about it is like there's usually in a situation one more right answer for you. And that's the thing. You just want to be able to identify it and have access to that because for most of us, in many of situations, especially in our dating lives, we feel life is challenging at those times because we don't know what to do. And we wish we had access to that one option that we're not quite aware of or not quite aware of and competent in that would better solve our problem for achieving our desired success. All right. That's what I want you to understand. Game is helpful. Game is actually self-development, which really kind of helps lead me into this next topic of sometimes game is mistakenly considered deceitful, manipulation, lying, cheating, stealing, one of those negatives. People think sometimes that game is something that's detrimental to others. Not true. When you build yourself up, does it have to come at the expense of others? No. All right. What we're doing is building ourselves up in here, much like we do in self-development, with better strategies of action, with more knowledge, with more competencies. That's good for building us up. Because what I teach is that life is all about your total package. All right. Really in life, if ever, is your success and failure going to boil down to one moment where you succeeded or failed? Usually it's a cumulative sort of total of everything that you have to offer. And so when you develop your game, you are basically developing who you are on the inside so that you're more powerful, you're more knowledgeable, you have more options at your disposal, you're aware of seeing more things and more options, more things in play. Life is just a very different experience. And when you're simple and don't see as much of the picture, don't have access to as many options, don't even have the knowledge or awareness of some of these options, life can be very different because you see something like this. The more game you have, the more you see things like this. And that's what I want to get you to, because when you see like things like this, you have a choice to choose any option from here, 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 here. But when you only see this in a situation, you have only this option or this option or this option. All right. So we want to definitely understand that game is something that it's just all about developing you. And when you think about it, is developing your awareness of the better strategies and your competency of those better strategies, is that cheating in real life? Come on. Come on, that's such a stretch, because I want you to think about your personal, professional, romantic, and athletic lives. Is it cheating in athletics to know that there's a better strategy called practicing your skill at home, practicing hard, having the right equipment? Is that cheating, or is that just a better strategy of action for hopefully winning? When you go into a job interview, what's wrong with dressing appropriately, speaking professionally, coming in with a well fine-tuned resume? Are any of those things, shaking hands, making eye contact, are any of those things cheating, lying, manipulation? No, they're better strategies of action. They're smart business. All right. So you would do those things because they work. But is that cheating? No. And when you want to get a good test score, what do? Well, that probably some better strategies of action if you want a good test score are to study in advance, take notes, show up to class every day, don't fall asleep in class, maybe sit in the first row. These are all strategies that will help you and set you up for greater success towards that higher test score. Is that cheating? No. That's just being smart. All right, practicing your skills, developing yourself, growing, learning, making smart decisions. That's not cheating. That's just putting yourself in a position to more often win. And one thing about game is that you won't always win. And that's okay. But with game, you're like, well, I want to put myself in a better position for success, and that's what it's about. Now, I do want to share with you, there are 2 laws of game. Very simple. Very simple. But these 2 laws of game, you just need to understand, because you can't break them. All right? You can't go against these laws. The very first law is that everyone has game. Everyone. Old, young, stupid, smart, short, tall, ugly, good looking, whatever. Everyone has game. All right? Not debatable. It's a law. Everyone has game. Now, the second law is that anyone can develop their game. Anyone. All right? Again, smart, ugly, stupid, good looking, whatever. Anyone can develop their game. So you need to understand that everyone has their game and anyone can develop it. If you think about it, let's think about humans from inception. As a baby, do you have game? You're probably like, no. Yes, you did. You had game when you were crying, because that was a better strategy of action that you quickly figured out, or just instinctively knew that crying would do what? It would get you changed. It would get you fed. It would get you attention. It would get you love. So what is that? Crying is a better strategy of action. You had game as a baby. As a teenager, when you learn, I better not ask dad if I want the answer to be yes, or maybe I should ask dad while he's watching TV. You figure out which parent you need to ask for what, who's the easy one, who's the hard one, who's going to give you more money for going out, who's going to be more lenient on you when you mess up. You figure those things out. That's game. You had that as a teenager. I remember in elementary school, a classmate of mine, 4th grade, I call him up and I say like, hey, why weren't you at school today? He was like, oh, I was playing video games today. I was like, you weren't sick? He's like, no, I was supposed to be sick, but I was actually just playing. I wanted to play video games all day. So what he did was he told me a story about getting some instant oatmeal, throwing it in the toilet, and telling his mom that he threw up. And I was like, geez, that's pretty good, because that does look like throw up. And I remember asking him about that. Like, I was like, whoa, he skipped school. How cool. And then he got away with it. And I remember him even explaining to me that, like, yeah, he didn't want to fake having a fever because that would have meant that he might have had to gone to the doctor, but just throwing up, you can't really use a thermometer and you can't get called out for that. When you throw up, you just say, Mom, I threw up. And if she's like, really? I don't believe you. It's in the toilet. Go look. And she's like, oh, I guess you did throw up. He had a plan. He had game. He knew that was a better strategy of action if he wanted to stay home and play video games all day. Kudos to him. I took notes from him and I learned from that moment, like, geez, that was a better strategy of action. Back then, that fourth grader was using game. Even as adults, we use game. Like I said, we know how to go into a job interview. We know that if we're going on a first date, well, it makes sense. A better strategy of action would be don't show up wearing dirty clothes, smelly. Don't show up 2 hours late. These are like, common sense, but at the same time, better strategies for success, right? That's game. All right. But just how many more options are you going to add on to that? Sure, like you showed up clean, but can you show up and do you know how to be charming? Do you know how to have conversation? Higher levels of game. That's all it is. Or you have basic game and it just progressively grows. The more levels that you can stack, the more game that you have, the more success you're likely to achieve because game is about increasing the odds of your success, not ensuring success, but increasing the odds. And I want you to know that some people, yes, they're going to have natural talents. Some people are going to have a natural instinctive, awareness of what to do in certain situations. Some people are natural at being flirts. Some people are natural at being social. Some people are natural athletes. People are just, some people take to something quickly, or some people just always understand something. That's always going to occur. But even for those people, they develop their game in those areas. So even if someone is good at flirting, that doesn't mean that they haven't developed their game even further to be even better at flirting. Or if some people were just very comfortable being social, that doesn't mean, don't take away from them thinking that they haven't worked to develop their awareness and competency to be even more social. All right. Life is going to be a competition. And you may or may not want to concede that or admit it or believe it, but it's true and it's affecting you. Life is competitive personally, professionally, and romantically. We have to just work within the system. What I know is that when you work on yourself, when you develop your game, you develop greater awareness, you develop greater competencies. And if you develop that awareness and competency in areas of your weaknesses or areas that will impact your desired successes, that's smart business. That's saying, hey, you know what? Those video games, as fun as they are, they really don't give me much bang for my buck as far as return if I want a romantic relationship outcome. Playing video games and getting really good at those doesn't really help me out in that arena that I'm really wanting the results in. So maybe we need to figure out where to better invest our time, our effort, our money, whatever it is. I want you to understand, game is acknowledging that life is competitive. If you want to compete, step yourself up, step up your game. I call that leveling up your game. Everyone has game. Everyone can develop their game. Yes, you can. The question is, will you? And how much will you develop your game? And in which areas? Obviously, if you're watching this video, one of the areas that you're very concerned with is your dating game. And that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. You're like many of us, and I get it. But you always have to have a plan. Where do I want to focus my efforts? Where do I want that success? That's where I need to focus my efforts. That's where I need to focus my game. Remember, it's about getting from point A to point B, and that bridge is your game, that awareness and competency that takes you there. Thanks for watching. If you appreciated the content from this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And male or female, if you're not satisfied with your dating or online dating experience, I invite you to join one or both of our free academies. We have Get Game Group Academy and Get Game Group Online Dating Academy, both of which send out free weekly videos designed to help you up your game.